Hello, friends. This is Amira. I am here for Walkthrough Wednesday, where I share a recent addition to my collection and we walk through all of the cards. Today, I am going to be sharing the Dream Ritual Oracle cards. This is brand spanking new. Just came out this week. I'm excited to check this out. Before we get too into this, let me just share that I have tried to film this video 2 times already, and I have had sound issues. So I just decided I'm not going to try and record again because I'm not sure what the problem is, but I do want to share the video, so I'm just going to do a voiceover. My little pup is snoring in the background. I don't know if you can hear him, but he's a little sweetie. Okay, so Dream Oracle cards. I will be making a confession about oracles. But first, let's go ahead and just talk about the actual deck and the box. So it comes in this nice box. The box has some gold foiling on it, both in the stars and in the title of the cards. And you'll see me pull it off. It's got a little place on both sides where you can put your thumbs and just pull off the lid. The box itself is really nice and substantial, so I definitely enjoy that. The creator of this is Teresa Chung, and the illustrations are by Noel T. So that is who created this deck, and we are going to dig into this here. You can see the little notches. It's got a plain yellow interior there, and it's also got a guidebook. With tarot decks, I often feel like the cards can often stand on their own, although of course I appreciate any guidebook because I love to find out whatever insight or whatever vision the author and creator and illustrator wanted to bring to the deck. I'm always happy to know about that. But with oracles, I definitely do like to have a guidebook, and this one does. It's kind of substantial. It's not tall. It's not super big, but as far as, height and width, but it is more than 100 pages. So there's 2 pages for each of the cards, and there are 48 cards in this deck. So I'm just flipping through it, seeing there's a little itty bitty thumbnail. It's a color thumbnail of each card, and that's nice. And we'll go through the guidebook a little bit later, but I did just want to take a look here before I set it aside. But let's dig into these cards. That's what we're about. Now, I chose this deck because I love the artwork, of course, but also I loved the words. We'll talk about that in a bit, but let's go through the cards one by one. And I'm just confirming the fact that, yes, there is some foiling on the box, but the cards doesn't have foil on them. Like, there is some... The coloration of the card, like the stars on the card, are designed to look like they might be foiled, but they're not. Foiling is on the box only. I do like the back of the box, or the back of the cards, excuse me. It's a nice landscape with the stars falling from the clouds onto the landscape, and that's really nice. The cardstock is a good weight. I'll test a bit later. It's matte on both sides. As I go through the deck, I'm going to just turn over each card one by one so we can really get a look at each of the cards. I also like to set aside several cards and choose some favorites. It's just a fun little side thing that I like to do, and I choose 5 or 6 favorites from each of my decks. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see a little bit better. Want to get a close-up of this. And the card we start with is Receive. This one is really pretty, and I like the viewpoint because it's so interesting. You can't really tell, like, there's in the bottom portion, there's like this house on top of the hill, and then in the top portion, there's a little window. Now, is that window from the house that's in the bottom, or what is going on here? But either way, it's a very, very cool card, and it gives you a lot to think about. So that is the first card, Receive. That one is definitely going in my favorites pile. Now, here's where I'm going to mention my issue with Oracle cards. I have gotten Oracle cards in the past, and the issue is I don't really know what to do with them. Do I just think about the word receive? What do I do? And often with a lot of Oracle decks, the chosen words can feel a little random to me. Like you'll see something like spirit or mirror or what have you. And I think, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know. I think I have an ability to be more intuitive with tarot than I do with Oracle. With Oracle, I tend to be kind of literal, and that's something that maybe I need to work on. But it has prevented me from getting Oracle cards for some time now. So the difference here with this one was that I looked at the art, and of course I loved the art. So often in these Oracle decks, the art is just absolutely gorgeous. And so what do but just want to buy it? But then you look at the words, and like I said, sometimes they feel random to me or they don't speak to me in a certain way. But with these cards, so many of them are verbs. I'm a writer, so I know what to do with verbs, and that really helped me take the step to commit to this and giving this oracle a try. So that's why I got this one. And I really like this card, so I'm going to stick it in my potential favorites list. Next, we have Prepare, and that's certainly a very interesting image, isn't it? Looks like a cracking egg almost. This one is Observe. Really unique. I like that angle. Can just imagine being in that bed and looking down. Or maybe you're in the window looking down at everything else. That brings me to another point. There are no people in this deck. You can see a hand on the commit card, but otherwise, really, there are no people. There's just environment, there's setting, there are objects, and of course, the moon. That makes it really easy to self-insert in a deck if that's something that you enjoy doing. Really like that commit card, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that in the favorites. Whew, people, I'm I'm on a roll here. We're starting off strong. A lot of potential favorites. We'll have to see how I narrow this down in the future. Here's Reframe. And I have to say, I am loving the idea of the spiral being how you reframe something. So, and following the spiral lines to the center of the house and the moon. That's just really gorgeous. Yes, another favorite. Maybe, we'll see. And then here's Gratitude. And here is Immerse. Another really fun idea. You can walk off the pier and jump into a new setting, or jump inside the book, which, you know, is a nice representation for immersion. Very nice. Now we have Awaken, which is quite pretty, and Create. Just so cool, the idea of putting together a house and the surroundings around it. Foresee, we have another spiral here. The other ones seem to be going up. This one seems to be going down. but you can interpret it however you like. Next up, we have inspire. So appropriate to have the piano music. I find music very inspiring. Not everyone does, but it's a good shorthand, I feel. And the waves are almost like sound waves at the bottom of the moon there, which is pretty cool. Next up, we have remember. And I find this one so interesting because your memory doesn't really exist, right? It's in your head. There are boundaries to it. Like if I think about what I did yesterday, I went to a movie and I I think about being there with my sister and her family. I don't necessarily think about the drive there or the drive home. So it's like little snippets almost. And I feel like that's kind of what these little gated circles are representing. That memories are kind of like little pieces of something that you remember. The way that this is shown on this card really depicts that very well for me, and I find it very meaningful. So that one is going to go in the possible favorites. I love the colors of this manifest card. I mean, so many of the colors of this deck are green and blue. I think that might be one reason I was drawn to it, is because it's really unique. I haven't seen that, but there was a lot of like mauve in that one. Here we have patience. Strength. I'm so used to seeing lions on strength cards, but that's with tarot. But I did like this depiction of it for sure. Strength isn't necessarily loud. Sometimes it's just staying on the boat, even in the midst of the storm. Here we have request, which made me think of an egg timer. Oh, a weird little brain association for you, I guess. That one's interesting as well. Next up is balance. And here's intuition. I just find myself getting lost in these images. They're really, really gorgeous. Relax. Nourish, which I thought was very cute. How you have the little house within or the room within the apple. Ponder. Illuminate. Next up is flow. And now we have impulse. Which I like the art. I'm not entirely sure how that speaks of impulse, but we'll see. Soul. Interesting that you look into a mirror for that and you see the world. Barrier. Now this one fascinated me. Partly because I don't understand. I don't understand it. Not certain what the artist meant to convey with this one, but I really like it and it intrigues me, so I'm going to set it in the possible favorites pile. And you know, for a 48 card deck, I'm stacking up that potential favorites. Freedom, ego, regret, approve, so much light in that card. It really speaks to how you feel when you feel approval. Purpose, empathy, adventure. This is nice. All represented in a seashell. Really nice. Passion. Got the bright orange and yellow there of the flower in the movement of that swing. Transition. Cool idea. The tree growing from an eggshell, which is a sky. An eggshell sky. Forgive. Closure. This is another one that intrigued me quite a bit. Very nice. Trust. Surrender. Calm. Heal. And release. Feels very appropriate for release. So waterfall. Reflect. Anytime Saturn is depicted, I'm going to love it. Synchronicity. Reconnect. Revisit. So nice. And our last card is Compassion. I felt like this was a pretty good size of deck. I was just confirming we got 48 cards. So now it's time to set the main cards aside and go through and see which ones are my favorites. We'll just zoom out for that so I can spread them out a bit. I'm adjusting the view here. Now it's time to narrow it down. I had a lot of candidates for potential favorites, so we'll see how easy or difficult of a task this is going to be. Going to narrow it down to 5 or 6. And I start out with 8, so that won't be too difficult. So first I'm going to start with the ones that automatically I think, okay, yes, yes. Some of them appeal to me because I feel like they're unique ways to depict the words that they represent. Others I pick are ones that really resonate with me. Others I pick because they confuse me and I want to understand their mysteries. So, whew, narrowed it down to 4, and now I have 3 left, and that means I need to eliminate at least one. Who will it be? Who will it be? Oh. And I want to know which of these you would pick as your favorite, either one of the 6 that I pick or whether it's one of the others that really resonated with you. So here's what I've got. I've got reframe, closure, commit, receive, observe, and barrier. So now that I've done that fun little exercise, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle them in, and we will learn how these cards shuffle. I'm not the best at shuffling, I admit. But, you know, I can shuffle a deck, usually. Not always the great at bridging them. These bridge pretty well, though, actually. You can see there's no edging on these cards. I might edge them myself later. I feel like that might be a fun project. Just do like a navy. Something to represent the sky. I'll have to do some research into that. Now you can see after a few shuffles, they're already starting to bow just a little bit. I'm going to counter this by shuffling them face up. But I might just switch to overhand shuffling for this particular deck. While I want to get use out of my decks, and I don't mind if they look a little loved in. If they look loved in or lived in. I don't want to, you know, end up with a bowed deck super quickly, so I'm going to experiment with that a bit, I guess. All right. Done some shuffling. Now it's time to do a 1-card reading. I feel like this looks like slow motion to me, but I double checked the speed, so I guess I'm just a slow shuffler. Oh my word. So here we go. Here's my 1 card. And this is where we're going to give the guidebook a little test run here. So I can't remember if I mentioned it is over 100 pages, which is really great, especially for an Oracle deck. I feel like that means that they, you know, put some time and thought into it. One thing that I did notice is that it suffers from the common issue of small font. Ow, my aging eyes. This is not a deal breaker for me, as you know, this is just something that is a fact of life when it comes to tarot and oracle. I do wish that there were options to maybe get a separate one with bigger print, but we'll go with this. And as I'm looking over the deck or over the guidebook, it talks about, okay, here's a spread for you to do. It doesn't show a spread, but it says do a 2-card spread. So that's what I'm going to do. And the first card is what you need to focus on right now to help you interpret dreams better. And that card is forgive. Which, okay. Okay, that hit me. That gave me some feels. Forgiving is not my strong suit. I'll admit that straight up. And so I'm going to turn to this card in the book. Now, as I mentioned, there are 2 pages for each of the cards. And they are sorted according to the moon phase. So first you go to whatever the moon phase is, and then after that it's sorted alphabetically. Sorted, I'm talking about it like it's a spreadsheet, but you know what I mean. So I'm going to the page about forgiving, and it gives some keywords that go with it. Also, you can see I'm having trouble. I'm not super strong on moon phases, so we're going to go to waning now, because I know that what I have depicted here in the forgive card is the opposite of what is shown on waxing. So it's in the waning section, and now we'll find it. So it's got some synonyms or some keywords to think of, and then it'll have a little introduction. But what I really love is it has rituals you can do under each card, and that is a pretty hefty section. Most of them have what I see as like 4 or 5 at least bullet points for rituals. Some of them are different things that you can do. Some of them are rituals that build, like one builds on another. And so the second card in this is flow. And this is what needs to be considered for the future. So I'm going to find that. And again, like with this one, it had a ritual of, stand up and imagine that you have a cord or something tied to you. And it also says if you can't stand up, do this instead, which I have to say I greatly appreciated. I am able to stand up, but I very, very much want to applaud them for considering that some people are not able to do so and still would like to participate in these rituals. So I applaud that inclusion, that effort of inclusion there. And yeah, I have to say I was very, very pleasantly surprised here. I had low expectations going in, not because of this particular deck or the art or anything, but just because of my past experience with oracles. But this one really gives me lots of ideas. Like, I love the art, of course, but the key thing for me is the fact that it includes very specific things that you can do along with each card. So when you draw a card, it gives you ideas, lots of ideas. Tell me what to do, damn it. That's how I feel about my oracle cards. So I'm very excited to use this, and I'm not sure if I will do any more readings on camera for you, but whether I do or not, I will definitely report back on how I like this deck after I've had some time to use it. So let me know if you would like me to do some things on camera with it. I'm certainly open to that. The full moon is coming up, and maybe I can do something related to that. That seems like that might be fun. But anyway, in the meantime, thank you for joining me on this Wednesday walkthrough. I'll be back again soon in a new video, and until then, please take care.